And what's up, everybody? We're back with another episode of the Talking NASCAR podcast. This is episode number 84 of the Talking NASCAR podcast. As you can see, Hitmaster is not here. He was unable to be the episode today. We're recording it the day it goes up, which we usually don't do, and he had to work. So he'll be back next week, though. Hopefully. So he's doing fine. Just couldn't be here today. So you'll just get me today. But this is episode number 84. We're going to go over lots of stuff, including the wild weekend at New Hampshire, that everything happened there for Xfinity and the Cup Series. There is a good amount of news stuff to go over. That's always a tongue twister, news stuff. But including my early review of I-96 Speedway, there will be a formal review of that going up next week. But you get a sneak peek here on the podcast. And then also at the end, we will preview this weekend's action at Nashville. So should be all good there. Well, let's jump straight into it. From New Hampshire. Rain was in the forecast the entire weekend. And this is something that's not necessarily new for New Hampshire. New Hampshire has always been one of those races where, yeah, you can expect some rain. It's either like really hot and sunny or it's rainy and cool. This was a rainy and cooler weekend, but it threatened the Xfinity race, though it didn't really affect it as much as the Cup race, but we'll get to that in a little bit. There were a lot of radio issues for the junior motorsports drivers, more specifically Sam Mayer and Justin Allgaier had some big issues, and like they played what the radio sounded like on the TV broadcast, and it was just... it made my ears bleed. What is this? Is what I was thinking. Like, oh my god. It was a tough day for Williams and the 6 team as well. He got caught up in at least 2 incidents, possibly a third. I don't remember exactly. It was a good run though for the modified driver making his Xfinity debut in the 19. Bonsignor, I forget his name. Ran really, really well. He was up in the top 5, contending for the lead for most of the race. He got into an incident late though, which was pretty sad, but he was able to survive and still finish the race. And still a very proud run. So there's no hint that he's going to make any future starts, but if his run at New Hampshire is indicative of what he can do, it was in higher end equipment. It wasn't a JGR car, but still, that's really good. That's really, really good. So I would expect there to be offers and that he would have to look into them at least. So, but a lot of late restarts in this race got pretty wild. The big one struck too, a New Hampshire big one. That's a rarity. But we got one in the Xfinity race, so that was awesome. And then Christopher Bell, doing double duty this weekend, was able to make a late pass on the leaders, Cole Custer, to get the win in overtime. I know that's not necessarily a very popular win, seeing he is a Cup regular and he has won every single Xfinity race he's been in, which is 4 now. And it was really Cole Custer's race to lose, though. He kind of got jumped on the restart and just did not go at all. But Bell took the win. Not super controversial, I guess, but Bell did get the win. So good job for Bell. And then we get to the Cup race. The Cup race was marred by rain. We'll talk about pre-rainstorm and post-rainstorm here, okay? So it's first the pre-rainstorm. It was a rough day for Kyle Busch in both sections, though. Really bad day. He got caught up in at least 3 incidents and just was not competitive at all. He was off the lead lap most of the day. And his runs lately have not been good at all. You can really tell that he might be thinking about leaving RCR. Tensions are not good. Let's just say that. This is kind of indicative of his late season with Joe Gibbs in 2022, with all that stuff going on with contract stuff. He's not losing a motor every race, but he's wrecking or not just being very competitive, which is pretty bad. It's Kyle Busch. Like, he's supposed to be elite. I know he's in the later stages of his career. I mean, he's going on almost 20 years in the sport now, but that's some strong runs he needs to put together, and he's got a win streak to hold up. I don't know if he can get it by this point. I mean, if he's going to keep having runs like this. So tough day for Alex Bowman as well. That was Hitmaster's choice, so I won the choices this weekend because he had Alex Bowman. Bowman blew a motor and finished dead last. So it was a tough finish for him. And then the first two stages, though, relatively were pretty tame, pretty quickly going. But the rain really started to get close to the track as they started the third stage, and it just became an absolute wreck fest. Here's what I don't understand. If the rain is coming and you want to try and get as many laps in as possible so you can try and pass as many cars as possible and get the best finish before the rain hits, knowing that there's a good chance we're already past halfway, the race can be called, you know it's probably going to be called, why are we going to wreck 4 times in 20 laps? Seriously? I mean, seriously, turn into a wreck fest out of absolute nowhere. There were more I think there were more caution laps ran than green flag laps in the third stage before the rain hit. That's how bad it was. So of course the rain did come, and there was a pretty long rain delay, and I thought they were going to call the race. I thought they were really going to call the race, and it was just going to be over. And I was mad because we had Josh Berry as our pick this weekend in fantasy, and he was sitting in 12th, running a really good race, got stage points, like 9 stage points. He was sitting at 12th when the third stage started, but he was terrible on restarts all day. So of course there's, an asinine amount of restarts, and he falls from 12th to 20th, but when the rain hits. So I was really, really mad we weren't going to get a good finish, but they actually did not call the race. I was very, very surprised when they did this. I was very, 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 very surprised. I was really, really crazy. They put on the rain tires and they went out and finished the race, which, again, I had no clue that they were going to do that. But the rain tires came into action, but the racing product really didn't change that much. The action picked right back up where they left off. There was another big one in the Cup race that collected a lot of drivers, including Bubba Wallace. So that was pretty insane. But there was just like rack after rack after rack, and it looked like it was going to be Ryan Blaney trying to contend for the win with Christopher Bell and Michael McDowell, and then McDowell spun Blaney going into the first turn, and they both had a bad run. That opened the door for Christopher Bell to get the win again in overtime, and he also swept the weekend, which you don't see much anymore. But he did win. So good job to Christopher Bell. As for my pick with Josh Berry, we got third. Should have gotten second. He blew it on the last lap, but could have easily gotten second. But we got third. So he set a plus 17 point differential because of NASCAR wanting to go to the rain tires. And these rain tires, this race was a good indicative point of how the rain tires are really going to affect things going forward. There were multiple when they went out and started doing pace laps again after when they put on the rain tires and right after the rain. A lot of cars were spinning out on the pace laps, and so I was getting a little worried that they were going to have to delay the racing in or just call it because the track was still going to be too wet. But they got it through, and there was some mixed results. I mean, when we talk about these tires, they wear out really quickly. A lot of drivers were having. Kyle Larson had some tire issues. Supposedly, but the tires wore out really quickly because they heat up very quickly, and the track dried out, but only in one specific groove that drivers were running. So that's why NASCAR didn't let them go back to the slicks, even though a lot of drivers and teams wanted them to go back to the slicks late in the race. They just didn't, which is a good move. And it was good to see it work out on a bigger track like New Hampshire. I really don't think that we're going to see the rain tires really be a good option for any track larger than a mile that's not heavily banked. So don't think like Charlotte wouldn't have changed because they wouldn't have ran rain tires at Charlotte. That would have been an absolute crap fest. But even like Dover, I don't think or Bristol, I don't think we're ever going to see rain tires there. But like Bartonsville, Richmond, New Hampshire, Phoenix, even, yeah, I could see the rain tires working out. And New Hampshire was a good point of reference for that. So that was good. It worked out well. I was happy to see it finish. Everybody got a good chance. You know, some drivers would have wished, like Tyler Reddick would have wished maybe they called the race, but didn't happen. But there you go. But this was a good weekend of racing for New Hampshire, I thought. You know, New Hampshire's always a little bit hit or miss. Sometimes you get some really good racing. Sometimes it's kind of a boring fuel mileage fest. Not in this race. There was a lot of good action right up until the end, and it was really good. So, good weekend overall for New Hampshire. So, we do have a couple penalties to talk about before we fully stop talking about New Hampshire. Matt DiBenedetto was disqualified from the Xfinity race after a loose lug nut. So big stuff there because he's one of the better Xfinity drivers. So, there you go. And then the crew member also on the 42 Xfinity team, got suspended for the Nashville race coming up this weekend, after there was an axle infraction found on their car post New Hampshire. So those are the only penalties. And both came in the same Xfinity race. So there you go. But that was New Hampshire. Let's put it in the books, shall we? We got a few other news things to talk about before I get to my I-96 Speedway stuff. So it was revealed earlier in the week, Christopher Bell accidentally leaked that Chase Briscoe would be taking over the 19 car in Cup for JGR after Truex retires. This was when Truex announced his retirement, this was originally the highest candidate for people. And later it was confirmed by JGR themselves that Chase Briscoe is indeed taking over the 19 next season. So that is one of the Stewart-Haas vacancies, or one of the Stewart-Haas free agents now has a ride next season. And another one will have a ride still with the Haas factory team. So that leaves two. It's still not announced who's going to take that Haas factory team Cup ride. Could be Ryan Preece, it could be Noah Gragson, or it could be Josh Berry. And the other two will be left in the dust. But I'm sure there'll be some other spots that they can take over at season's end. I'm not too worried, but we'll have to see. One of them might be downgraded to an Xfinity program if maybe they want to do something with Cole Custer or Riley Herbst. You know, they could do something there too. The playoff schedule we still don't have a full 2025 Cup schedule yet, or even just a NASCAR schedule in general. But some big changes were announced to be made to next year's playoffs. Let's see if I can find them here. 3 tracks in particular are getting changes. So let's see if I can find them here. I guess also going back to the wet tires thing, I think they could work on road courses as well. They could work on road courses, but not that would be the extent. See if I can find them here. Let's see if we can find it. Here we go. Starting in 2025, 3 tracks will be removed from the playoffs, and 3 are going in. So Atlanta is going to be out. which kind of sucks. I like Atlanta, so that's gonna kind of suck. So, and it looks like the other two being not in the playoffs are Watkins Glen and Homestead. Homestead's a big one. Homestead was the championship race for a long time, and then they moved it to earlier in the playoffs. Now it's out of the playoffs entirely, which is crazy. Um, so that's pretty big. Let me see. Now this is all not totally confirmed again because the schedule hasn't actually been released yet, but it looks like Gateway, surprisingly, and New Hampshire, both the same track, by the way, pretty much, are going to move into the playoffs. And Darlington is going back into the playoffs as well. So, not all bad. I think it's just gonna be okay. The only one that really doesn't make sense is taking Homestead out for Gateway. Why? Why? Why the hell are we taking Homestead out for fucking Gateway? It's gonna be good though. I think. Like, I don't think there's are bad tracks to put in the playoffs, and they'll definitely. I think the racing will definitely be different because of the different time of year, especially Gateway. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But overall, I think it'll be fine. So, and only a couple other things to talk about. We'll analyze that later when the actual schedule comes out. That should be soon, I would assume. They used to release it in like the spring, of, like the previous season. So like we should have already seen it by now. But they've been delaying it the last few years, like later in the season. So we'll see how that goes. But and then a couple of the news things. Eric Almirola was suspended after his fight with Bubba Wallace a few weeks ago. Hence why he's been absent. And they just now we're quiet. They've been quiet on it until now. I gotta be honest, I had zero clue that Eric Almirola was even like not racing. I just didn't pay attention at all. And I did not know that there was I totally forgotten about this completely, but it's good to know we got clarification on that. Eric Almirola doesn't seem like the most confrontational person in the world, which is why I'm surprised that it escalated to this point where now he has to be suspended. It's just would never see that out of Eric Almirola, especially at this stage in his career when he's just full time Xfinity and part time Cup. I don't know, quite crazy there. Um, and then also, the other news: Ryan Blaney got nominated for an ESPY award, for the best driver. So that's cool. Why Ryan Blaney? I don't know. I mean, he didn't win the championship last year, so I guess I can't be too surprised. So hopefully he wins. That would be cool. I don't think he'll win. I think an F1 driver is gonna win it, or maybe even an IndyCar driver. But no, maybe Blaney will win. We'll see. But that's all the news that I had for the week. Other than I got to visit I-96 Speedway last week. We went and watched the modifieds and some other stocks, and then we also watched pony stocks, and it was a lot of fun, honestly. Like, you'll see the review. The review hasn't come out yet. The vlog has, but the vlog has come out, so you can go check that out if you want. The track review will come out next week. I want to say next week. So there'll be a more in-depth analysis of the track there. But I gotta say, it was actually a lot of fun. I'd never been to a dirt track before, and I've seen dirt racing on TV with NASCAR and smaller series, obviously, but I never actually seen it in person. But it's a lot of fun. They're really loud because they can go so much faster than they can at a paved track of similar size to I-96 Speedway. It looked like a quarter-mile track. I want to say it was a little larger, but I can't confirm. My perceptions are different because the grandstands are so small, but so wide. So you're so close to the track no matter where you sit. So the perception's going to look a little larger, but they can hold it more wide open in the turns because they're drifting. So they can hold more speed. So obviously when they hit the straightaways, they're going to be faster and louder. So that's why. But it really did catch me off guard, like how loud they actually are when we were there. Um, Also, the dirt clouds, you got to be mindful of that. I do talk about this in the review. I was dirty as fuck, dude. You literally cannot escape the dirt. Like, I thought we'd be fine when they were doing hot laps and the heat races because we weren't in the turn, so that we didn't see any dust clouds get kicked up, and we were fine. But when they do the main events and there's so many cars going through, you better believe that there's going to be a dust cloud kicked up, and you got to be ready for it. Wear sunglasses, wear a hood, do whatever you need to do. But I was really dirty, and I had multiple showers were needed. Well, not multiple showers. One shower was needed. So there you go. But overall, it was fun. It was very bare bones operations. I do talk about this in the review as well. There was no walls outside of the where the grandstands were. There was catch fence and walls, but other than that, there was no walls or anything. So multiple instances we saw a car slide off the track, which was hilarious because it's just literally farmland out there. Like, I really do envision that a farmer way back when decided this looks like a great spot to race cars. Let's make a dirt track out of this with some spare parts I have in my shed. And this is how I-96 Speedway was born. It's just farms right in front of you, farms to the right, and then to the left is the road, followed by more farms. It's just insane. It was very surreal being there and seeing this in person. It was crazy. But again, like, cars just drive off the edge of the track. We saw it turn 3, turn 1, everywhere. And so I like to imagine that somebody has driven into the crops before, because it's not that far. Like, if your throttle hangs, if your throttle gets hung, or you just completely miss the turn and you're going in there full speed, I could see you flying out there. Nothing else is gonna stop you. There's nowhere for anybody to go out there, so it's not like it would kill anybody. It would probably destroy somebody's farmer's profits, but I'm sure they have a stake in the speedway for that reason. So there you go. But the grandstands were, oh my god, I thought we were going to fall through the grandstands. That wasn't fun. We didn't fall through the grandstands, but I'm sure we had one more heavy person with us, we would have fallen through the grandstands. I can guarantee it. But they're very old, but like, I think everybody likes being there. The fans weren't really that loud. There was a good crowd, they just weren't that loud. But the employees, I think, have a great time being there. And that just overall conduces a much better work environment, in my opinion. Oh, I have to mention the little kids track on the infield as well. There's a little kids track that they race these tiny little cars, and they're so much fun to watch because they slide all over the place. They drive off the course. They hit each other, but it is so much fun to watch, and I love it. I love it. I love it. There's not even a scoreboard either. There's no walls, no catch fence, no scoreboard, no nothing. And you can barely hear the announcers. So it's really, really hard to kind of keep up with how many laps they have to go in their races. But it's not terrible. I mean, you can see who's leading and stuff like that. You can make that out pretty well. At least I was able to keep up with that pretty well. I was about to sneeze. We didn't sneeze. We didn't sneeze. All right, anyway, yeah, so it was a fun time, I must say. If you're in the area, I definitely recommend visiting it. We saw a lot of action too. We saw two motor failures. One guy just absolutely engulfed the place in smoke, and the other guy caught fire. So that was pretty cool to see. Nobody was hurt though. We were all good. So it was fun. I had a lot of fun. And I'd definitely go back if I had the chance, but I don't know. Nah, I want to visit new tracks first. We got some other planned tracks. I'm going to a track up north in July, early July, after the 4th. We're going to Owasso on the 13th. And then there's one more I think that we're going to. I don't remember. That might be it. Oh no, we're going to Crystal on August 10th. That's right. So there you go. But it'll be fun. I'm excited. So, well, that's it. I mean, that's really all I got for news. You can see more about my thoughts about I-96 Speedway in the review. It comes out again next week. So, I was hoping Hitmaster would be here because then it would be more conducive to kind of talk about it. But such is life. Well, that's all I have really for news as well. So we can just jump into my predictions for the Cup race this weekend at Nashville. All three series are racing. Feels like forever since the Truck Series race, but they are in action this weekend, along with Xfinity and Cup. So it should be really good. I'm hoping to catch part of the Truck race, part of the Xfinity race, and hopefully the whole Cup race. We'll see. But who do I think is going to win the Truck race? Let's see. Nashville, fast track but concrete. I'll go Corey Heim to win. Seems like a safe pick. And then for Xfinity, I'm feeling Sam Mayer. I really am. I'm feeling Sam Mayer. This just seems like a track that he can do well at. Just seems like his race. Just saying. And then my Cup race, I have to pick Chase Elliott to win. I always have to pick Chase Elliott to win when we don't have the chips because he doesn't have. Hitmaster didn't get a chip for Chase Elliott, so I gotta get a Chase Elliott pick. So pretty simple. But that's gonna do it though for this episode. There's no other real news to talk about. But next week we'll be back hopefully with Hitmaster, and we will talk about everything that happened at Nashville. And we're heading into July, so that's going to be awesome. We're going to talk about the next race, which is the Chicago Street Course. Oh, yeah. Anyways, though, that's going to do it, though, for this episode. If you want to be a guest on a Talking NASCAR podcast episode, all you got to do is join the Pringles Sun Company Discord. Link is in the description down below. Request the Talking NASCAR role, and me or Hitmaster will work out a time to get you on. We'll talk some NASCAR. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So hope you can get on. But anyways, that's gonna do it though for this video. So stay tuned for much more amazing content from both me and Hitmaster. Go check him out as well. And until next time, see you guys later. Goodbye.